Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your man George, and today I'm going to do a little high-speed riding on the Gotway EXN, one of the fastest electric unicycles you can get. You know, normally I don't really film very often when I'm riding really fast. You know, there's a lot. It just adds a complication to the riding that just makes it a little bit more unsafe. The camera itself can really act as like a wind sail. Like you can feel the wind blowing on it and catching it. So it's just another variable that I really don't want to deal with when I'm riding that fast, when I'm riding that hard. But, I mean, kudos to the guys who do it. You see guys like Chooch, Wrongway, EVX, Sean, Duff. You see all these guys. They really, I mean, they'll film a lot while riding at very high speeds. And kudos to them for doing it. But, you know, but I decided today I'd show you a little bit of the back roads that I really like to zip down at some really high speeds. We'll try and get it up to 40 miles an hour, and I'll show you some scenery. I'll talk over it a little bit with a little bit of audio voiceover. So let's fly. All right, so I just had a beautiful ride around Miles Standish State Park, and it's time to head home. So I figured I'd show you the route I take. Man, I love the hum of that tire when it gets up and going. It's not quite as aggressive as the Sherman tire, but it's still got that awesome little hum, that little whine to it. So you're gonna see here, I'm ripping through the forest. It's really just absolutely beautiful out here. Unfortunately, this day it was really windy, and you're gonna see in a minute coming up here, I kind of bailed on this photo, this angle. It just wasn't really safe to ride like this, you know. Like I said earlier, it just adds a variable to the ride that's really uncomfortable, especially every time I tried to push it up over 30 miles an hour. I could really feel the instability coming from the different wind and the gustiness, especially when I would come out into an open area. Like here, it wasn't terrible because it was a little bit more concealed, but I'd come out where there's less trees, and all of a sudden that wind would just hit, and it was no good. And you know, a big part of riding safely is kind of knowing your limits. I mean, honestly, even on this day, I probably wasn't even geared up enough to be riding this fast. If I'm being totally honest with myself, I probably should have had my riding jacket on and some long pants. But just, you got to know your limits. It's too windy. It's really too windy to hold this stick today. At these speeds, it's just not safe. So I'll still show you the route, but you ain't gonna be with me holding the stick like this. I can do the small selfie stick, the little bitty shrunken down size. I'm not holding it out. So coming up here is this cool little bridge that's closed down to traffic now, but I always go a little bit slow here because one of the first times I ever came to Miles Standish, coming right through here over this pond, I was actually coming the other direction, but an American bald eagle came swooping down out in front of me. I mean, like right here, right out over the bridge. It was amazing. So now I always go slow, hoping to see him again. I haven't seen him since, but that was such a cool moment coming in through this park. I wish I had gotten that on camera. I'm actually working on getting some kind of a body cam or something set up for moments like that, so hopefully I can catch everything cool that happens. I'm always missing cool stuff that I wish I could get on camera for you guys. But yeah, this is the entrance to Miles Standish. This place is absolutely beautiful. I definitely suggest if you live in the eastern Massachusetts area, go down and check it out. I mean, it's just so big. There's tons of off-road, there's bike paths, there's roads. Just a gorgeous place to be, you know, and it's all so far away from any type of city or anything like that. It's just surrounded by cranberry bogs, so it's just pristine. But this is how I end up getting here. I just rip down this road, and technically this is actually a bike lane, which is a little bit weird. It's not really marked here. It's marked further up the road, but yeah, you're allowed to ride your bike here, so have no fear. You know, it's a 35-mile-an-hour road. Up here by the park, it's not so bad. People usually do the speed limit because there are often state troopers patrolling this part of the road. But as you get further down, even though it's marked 35 miles an hour, sometimes you got guys doing 40, 50 miles an hour. They get a little bit crazy out here in the backwoods. So you got to be a little bit careful. You really have to go a minimum of 35 miles an hour. I wouldn't feel safe riding on this road at 20. You know, you really have to push it to 35. And you're going to see I actually hit 41 miles an hour on this trip at some point. I'm not exactly sure when. I think it might have been back on the hill before we got to that bridge. I'm not really sure. But this whole stretch here is going about 35 miles an hour. Just, you know, strolling through the woods. It's absolutely gorgeous out here. Now, one thing about riding on the road is you want to try to maintain the lane as best you can. You really don't want people passing you unexpectedly. That's how I've found to be the safest anyway. I want somebody to honk at me and be mad at me as opposed to fly by me on the side. You know, personally, especially if you're going 35 to 40 miles an hour and you're keeping pretty much with traffic. I mean, on this trip here are the cranberry bogs. But on this trip here, I actually didn't have anybody come up behind me. I was going fast enough. There's the bike lane markings. But I was going fast enough between that 35 to 40 mile an hour speed where actually nobody caught up to me, which was awesome. You know, that's how I prefer it when I'm riding in the road is I don't like cars passing me. That seems to be the most dangerous situation, honestly. I mean, obviously you're always at risk of a crash of some kind, you know, whether the machine could cut out from overheating. You know, that's one thing you want to be careful of. When you're riding this fast for extended periods of time, definitely monitor the temperature of your machine. You don't want to be caught in an overheat situation. I mean, you could hit a pothole, you could crash, you could have a mechanical malfunction that causes the machine to cut out. But realistically, the most dangerous thing is going to be cars potentially hitting you. You know, and if you're off to the side of the road, cars are going to feel bold enough to pass you. And cars passing you is just a very dangerous situation. So you really want to maintain the lane, be in charge, you know, and flow with traffic the best you can. You definitely want to stay off of roads where you can't keep up with the cars. That's just not a good situation. When you see bicyclists, you know, literally hundreds, if not 1,000 bicyclists a year get killed by cars. Almost always during passing situations. That's when you're going to get hit. I mean, cars are just, especially us, they don't realize we're carving back and forth. They think that they have more space than they really do. They're texting, whatever it is. Like, you being on the side of the road there, you're not in charge, and that car is going to come whipping past you at unsafe speeds. Just be careful. Woo. I like to do little sprints. So I'll stop for a second, let my feet rest, make sure I clear traffic on either side here, let the machine cool down just a touch after going that fast for that long. Let's see what we peaked out there. Oh wow, we hit 41. I don't know if you can see that. We hit 41 miles an hour. That's actually my new high speed. I've tucked 40 before, and it's the first time doing 41. All right, gave my foot a break. Let's get back to it. So, another thing I've noticed now that I'm riding this EXN at higher speeds, it seems to take a lot more effort to hold the machine down and stop yourself from getting the wobbles. Like, you have to put a little bit more muscle into it. So actually, on this day specifically, it was so hot out, I was getting some pretty good foot cramps like I used to get back when I was first riding the InMotion V8. You know, I hadn't experienced real bad foot cramps in a while because on the V11, I'm really usually only traveling 20 to 25 miles an hour, and even learning on the EXN, realistically, I was only going 20 to 25 miles an hour as I was getting used to and accustomed to the wheel. But now that I've really started to push those speeds, I find that I'm having to put a lot more effort, a lot more pressure with my feet, and it's leading to some more foot cramps, especially on a hot day. Like, this day was probably 85 to 90 degrees, so you know, that's why you keep hearing the the EXN fan whining. It definitely got a little bit hot that day, but not too bad. But yeah, remember when you're riding a brand new machine that every single machine is completely different. You know, they're all going to have their own little quirks, their own little riding styles, their own little differences. You know, whether it be because of different pedal heights, different machine weights, you know, different tire sizes, there's all sorts of different reasons why the ride's going to be completely different for you. So if you first get on a new machine and you're having some struggles, just keep at it. Keep with it for a little while before you really make a judgment. You gotta put at least, say, 100 miles on a wheel to really be comfortable and understand it, to start to figure out how that specific wheel works. You know, and don't push yourself when you first get a new wheel. Don't just hop on it and try to do 35 or 40 miles an hour. That's a recipe for disaster, okay? You really need to learn your wheel before you start pushing crazy speeds. Definitely try to put, like I said, 100 miles on it. If for no other reason, just to wear down the tire. I mean, when you get a brand new tire, a lot of the times, it can just be a little squirrely. It can feel a little weird. I mean, I know the tires that come on the V11, and I think also on the RS is the CST something or other, and they've got that big ridge line in the middle, which really grabs cracks and stuff, and until you wear that down a little bit, it's kind of squirrely and uncomfortable to ride. You know, once you put 200 miles, 300 miles on it, and you really start to wear down those edges, it rides so much nicer. It's so much better to ride. So, you know, when you get a new wheel, don't go crazy. You know, if you're testing somebody else's wheel, don't go nuts. Just, you know, take it easy. Go 20 miles an hour. That's fine. 25 miles an hour, and you'll be fine. I mean, maybe if you're really, really advanced, this probably doesn't apply to you. But I'm just saying, if you're a fairly newer rider, I mean, I would consider myself a fairly newer rider. I've probably only got 3,500, 4,000 miles on wheels, somewhere in that range, maybe a little more. But, you know, I'm not like some world-renowned touring master or something like that. I just enjoy riding these wheels. It's a hobby for me. You know, I'm not really a commuter. So a lot of the times I'm practicing in more controlled situations to improve my skills. I'm not necessarily just putting up crazy mileage on the wheel like some guys. I mean, hey, I've got a buddy who does 300 miles in a day. That's bonkers, right? Think about that. 300 miles in a single day. That's crazy. I mean, it probably takes me 3 weeks to get 300 miles. He can do it in a day. So, you know, there's definitely people out there who have a lot more skill, a lot more experience. And you have to just know where you are in your riding journey. You know, how experienced are you exactly? How hard can you push yourself? How developed are your skills really? You know, and just because you have a ton of miles doesn't necessarily mean you're extremely skilled. If you haven't been practicing certain things, like going backwards, slow speed riding, you know, just going straight fast isn't everything when it comes to electric unicycle riding. So if you got a new wheel, and you're feeling a little bit discouraged, don't worry about it. You know, everybody's going to take a good amount of time to figure out where they are in their journey and figure out exactly how they feel with their new wheel.
Woo, my foot's cramping up. Yeah, it's really beautiful out here though. It really is. Just double check the machine's temp real quick. Yeah, 140 degrees. It's a hot day today. It's like, it's almost 90 today. So it's not totally surprising that the machine's getting hot, especially pushing it that hard.
All right, and here we go, coming up on the home stretch of this main road here. Like I said before, this is a road where cars can really get pumping. So I actually like to turn off here in this little cul-de-sac. There's a nice little bike trail I can zip down, and it takes off a good chunk of mileage off of this road, and then it puts me onto some more back roads, which are a little bit more safe to ride on.
Yeah, that's a good stretch to get some speed for sure. And I hopped this little bike path down by the pond. Pops me out a little bit further down, so I'm not dealing with traffic or anything. Nice little route to get over to Miles Standish. That was crazy though. I hit my new high speed, 41 miles an hour. Oh, Ow! I really wasn't trying to hit the new high speed, so that was kind of crazy that I actually did catch it. You know, that's one thing I'm noticing on this machine. The more and more I ride it, the more comfortable I'm getting at higher and higher temperatures. I'm sorry, speeds. Higher temperatures. Turkeys. Oh, and they're pissed. Never know what you're gonna run into out here. This beautiful little stream. It really is a gorgeous ride. Now, the only problem with roads like this one is even though it's marked 35 miles an hour, because it's kind of out in the boonies, you constantly catch people doing 50 on that road. So even at 40, I'm still a slow duck. But you feel okay as long as you're going fast enough that someone's not going to catch up to you right away. You know what I mean? You definitely don't want to be going 20 miles an hour on that road, though. You got to be pumping 35. You know, at 35 miles an hour, when someone's doing 50, they don't come up on you that fast, so they have time to slow down and notice you. If you're doing 15, that means they're coming up on you 35 miles an hour. That's fast. All right, well, I'm gonna put my camera away for the rest of this run. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you were there with me to hit my new high speed. Be sure to like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, ride safe. I'm actually gonna take a break in the shade here. It's gonna be gorgeous. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, guy.